We're joined by IEBC Commissioner Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning. It is Alutalala.
Alutalala. Sorry.
Heard of Aluta Continua?
Yes, Alutalala. I will not get it wrong again. Alutalala.
Thank you.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Yes. Nice to have you in studio.
Thank you.
We usually start off with the quote of the day. Falaris will share the quote and you can say if it speaks to you, if you agree or disagree.
Okay.
All right.
Karibu sana. Today's quote is courtesy of an African who was called Chinua Achebe. Quote reads, "One of the truest tests of integrity is its blunt refusal to be compromised." How does that speak to you this morning?
Well, integrity means... thank you, first of all, and good morning. Sorry, I didn't get your name right.
Wambui.
Wambui.
Yes.
Pleasure, Wambui. Yes. Integrity has to do with what is the right thing. And it cannot be the right thing if you want to bend to many directions. Yes. So you must have a true north by which you must be pointedly truthful. Thank you.
If we were to be honest with ourselves, Commissioner, do you think as Kenyans we have a true north when it comes to politics and integrity?
Thanks, Latif.
Because our conversation today is about safeguarding integrity in our elections. Do we know what integrity is in our elections?
Frankly, if you're talking about Kenyans, whether we know our true north in politics, I'm not quite sure. Because our true north many times tends to be associated with who it is that we believe in and follow as a leader or as a politician. And if you look over the years, the history of Kenya since 1963, you realize a disturbing pattern that policies, philosophies seem to change with the leadership that comes on stage. And some of these philosophies are predicated not on ideological philosophies, but on interests that many times appear to be, quite frankly, aligned to regions, aligned to tribe issues, and aligned to personalities. And as a result, there is a dislocation of what the nation's true north really ought to be. But I think that's where I can stop, because I'm no longer in media analysis and political analysis. I'm here in my capacity as a commissioner of the IEBC.
Now you're in a position of responsibility.
Indeed.
I think my view, Commissioner, is that it's Egypt, Canaan. Okay? These are geographical locations that are not moving. All right? There's a journey there. You'll cross the Sinai Desert, and there's a mountain there in Sinai. Okay? It will not move. The Canaan is the true north. That is the destination.
Yes.
And I think Kenyans defined for themselves what that Canaan is, and we put a roadmap to go there. We put it in chapter 10 and chapter 6 of our constitution, article 10 of our constitution. Leadership, integrity, it's all there in the constitution. And values, national values are there in our constitution. Now, we can argue that Kenyans are choosing not to follow the true north to head to our destination. We are just doing this roundabout route in the middle of the desert. But it's not because we don't know our true north. It may be all those things that are happening. You know, we have decided we want to create our own gods to worship. You know, we have decided, whatever else we have decided, we've decided we want to do whatever else but not head towards Canaan. Now, we created institutions that should constantly remind us where Canaan is.
Yes.
IEBC and EACC and others are the Google map. So if the Google map is malfunctional, then we'll find ourselves heading towards Saudi Arabia instead of Canaan. So, and this is now the issue is the IEBC on or off?
Is Google Maps on or off?
I like the imagery that you've drawn about the Google map, Egypt, Canaan, and the Red Sea in between. And I agree with you to a large extent that if the Google map is faulty, then you land in the wrong direction. Many times when my staff are using Google Map, I tell you, remember this Google Map is in the US, it's not here. The lady's voice, the lady who is directing us, is not in Butere. So many times it may not lead you to my village. But it gives you a direction that is approximate.
A general vicinity.
Yes, general kind of direction. As institutions that have been granted to us, I think that it is important that the institutions give direction in accordance with the mandate which has been granted to them. And yes, institutions ought to be the beacons within which we ought to operate. And Latif, the greatest challenge that I find, in particular now in the position where I am, is that we do not seem to appreciate that it is the responsibility of all Kenyans to help build these institutions. Because these institutions are seen, regrettably, as belonging to the officials in charge of that institution. And let me be specific about the IEBC. I'm going to 1 year since I joined the IEBC. And when we joined the IEBC, and I said this last time I was on this show, my understanding was that I was coming in with ideas, with experience, with my little expertise and the little reputation that I had out here to continue the race from where my predecessors left. And I expected that all Kenyans, leaders, especially political leaders, that they will have as their overriding objective a contribution to build the image and brand of IEBC, despite the history of the institution, because we all have histories. This nation has histories. And if we all went back and kept just hitting at what Kenya got wrong from 1963, we'll have no nation. But as for IEBC, most of our political leaders, and I think some Kenyans, have made it their favorite pastime just to hit at where IEBC got it wrong in the past and refuse to accept there can be a credible change in IEBC. And so I ask myself, I'm only 1 year here, whose vote have I stolen? And I ask again, Erastus Ethekon, Fahima Arafat, and all the other commissioners are 1 year in IEBC. Are they the reason why the credibility of IEBC is an issue? And my answer is no. The answer lies in the legacy problems the institution has gone through. And for that reason, therefore, we are paying for the sins of our fathers, not our own sins. And I've always asked that Kenyans must be kind to us and give us a chance. But I do not stop there. I say now we're here for 1 year. So we cannot give excuses and say that the problems are historical. We now have to look at our own audit. We have conducted 32 elections since we came in. Of all those by-elections, 2 have been petitioned against. None has succeeded. And if you look at the decisions of the courts, particularly in Mbeere North, there was nowhere the court said that IEBC had been engaged in malfeasance. The sticking issue in all these petitions is violence. That in Mbeere North, there was a lot of violence. And they say IEBC should have stopped violence. And they say that IEBC therefore is not credible because IEBC cannot stop violence. Yesterday, some political leaders went on air and said that IEBC has failed to stop violence. And that if they don't stop violence, IEBC will have no business. In fact, they mentioned the name of the chairperson. They'll have no business continuing to be the chairperson. In fact, they went further and said he should resign. You see, now that's a favorite term. Every time I go back to the house in the evening,
Must go.
We are told we must go 1 year into the job. And so we ask as IEBC, what is the role of IEBC in ensuring that there is no violence in our election? Because it's our mandate to ensure that elections, under Article 81, that the elections must be free, they must be fair, they must be transparent, they must be credible, and most importantly, must be held within an environment that is free from intimidation and violence. That is our mandate. And so what do? we have what you call a multi-sector agency cooperation. If you watched yesterday, that is what we were doing yesterday. So we have the IG in charge of the police. We have the NCIC. We have the ESCC. And we have IPOA, among other non-state actors. And so when we have elections before, during, and after, we rope in all these agencies because under the Constitution, each one of us has a role. Our role is to conduct, supervise elections and referendum. The role of the police is to take care of the security of all elections and therefore provide safety. Once we have approached the police, we have given our needs as far as security deployment is concerned, and we have educated the public on their rights as far as their safety at the polling centers is concerned. We are given 2 police officers per polling station. These police officers, while they are there, they are in charge of a 400 media radius. So that anything happening within that particular confine, then they have to help.
Please remind Kenyans also that a polling station is what they would know as a classroom.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Because it might sound like 2 police officers for a
the whole
school.
school.
Yeah.
No. In a school, you'll have classrooms.
Yes.
A school will be a polling center. It's a center. The school.
Yes.
Nairobi Primary School. That's a center. In Nairobi Primary School, we'll have classrooms. So sometimes referred as streams. So we have polling station 1 in one classroom, polling station number 2. So for each polling station, you'll have 2 officers there. So depending on the number of classrooms or number of stations, we'll have that number of police officers. But they are in charge of protecting the electoral materials inside that classroom and the election officers. So even as we say that we are in charge of the 400-meter radius, we must understand that their first priority is to make sure that these ballot papers, these boxes, and the officials who are there are protected. So to make it sure that I don't take a lot of your time, once we have requested for deployment, we then have, in our view, done our job. We then focus on the conduct of the election, that the ballot papers arrive in time. For Kalou, they did. That the ballot papers are transported securely and safely from our warehouse to the polling stations, which we will do. And that we have trained our officials in such a way that they are able to execute their functions professionally, efficiently, effectively, and above all, within the law. And that once that is done, the results are then tallied, collected, and announced, and that the result is one that reflects the true will and sovereign intention of the voter. Ladies and gentlemen, what happens, and all the cries that you hear about IEBC not being credible, is about goons and is about campaigning before the election time. We as IEBC are clear in our mind that whereas we may not be perfect, we have done a good job. The problem is that Kenyans, some Kenyans, not all, some are very kind, are refusing to place responsibility where it belongs.
And where is that, Commissioner?
I have counted the various agencies that ought to do the job.
Okay.
The multi-sector agencies.
Yes. So when it comes to goons and insecurity in political meetings and rallies, that is the agency in charge of security.
That, in my view, with profound respect, I thought that would be straightforward because...
Okay. Yeah, we agree.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a responsibility there. When it comes to campaigning before election time, that is a responsibility of?
Good question.
IEBC. Bwana.
Let me answer that.
Okay, who's it?
the IEBC's power to enforce campaign conduct sets in when the election is declared and ends when the swearing in of the successful candidates is done. Let me give you an example, what we are now doing. You've seen us dealing with some of those leaders who have decided that they'll do things their own way, outside the confines of the law. We could not have dealt with them before the date for the by-election was announced, because we do not have the power under the law.
Okay.
And if you've noticed also, we are doing it in a rushed manner. It's urgent. Because after the by-election in Kalou is done and the winners are sworn in, our powers end. In law, we said the Electoral Code of Conduct becomes functus official, meaning you are no longer in power to implement that.
How much time is that? From the moment you announce the election?
Yes.
Let's even
The
go to
swearing
the
in.
moment you announce the election, how many days to the election?
No. Let's just say, we say 3 months.
All right.
hypothetically,
Okay.
Without going to the details.
Okay.
Okay.
So for those 3 months, the Electoral Code of Conduct sets in.
It's in effect.
Okay.
And the committee in charge, which I have the privilege to chair presently, then becomes effective.
Effective.
Thereafter, it runs until the elections are concluded and they are sworn in, the candidates.
Okay.
The same applies to the general election, so that we understand this goon thing and premature campaigns.
Can the code of conduct not be applied retroactively? Is that the word? Yeah.
I like your choice of words, because in
The law, I
you
know.
cannot apply it practically.
Yes. However, when we get to a point where whether it's vetting candidates or deciding on whether or not to proceed with an election, if there were malpractices before, I know the law cannot be applied retrogressively, but there has to be something.
There has to be something, yeah. I'm actually very curious.
I get the drift. The drift is, what happens, are we helpless where people have just been, for lack of a better word, just been messing around?
Yes.
And now the general election is here,
Yeah.
and the same fellows are cleared to participate. That's a very innovative question. That is one thing that as a commission we are now thinking very deeply, and we're going to take a deep dive in this. If you notice the wording of our judgment in the first one and the one we delivered yesterday, we are saying that we are fed up with politicians who perennially cause us troubles as a nation. And then when it comes to the general election, again they have dusted themselves and they are ready to be cleared and vie. And we are saying that we are going to have a database of all these violators of the electoral code. And those which go outside the electoral code enforcement committee, remember, it's a two pathway in terms of election offenses. There is the administrative. The electoral code of conduct, which we do as a commission, is more or less administrative. We can only impose fines. We can only reprimand, but we cannot criminally charge. We used to have that until 2016. But then the parliamentarians, in their own good wisdom and grace, took that to themselves. And they changed. And now they created the Elections Offences Act, 2016. Now, under the Elections Offences Act, that role has been vested in the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. So, although we are hamstrung that way, that some of the complaints are actually criminal in their comportment. For example, strictly speaking, bribery, corruption, violence, that is not within our confines. So what we have decided, just to get your drift better, we have decided as a commission that we are going to isolate those people whom we have charged and found culpable, and that going forward, we are documenting their participation in the electoral process at every turn. When we go to the general election, there is a time for vetting.
Yep.
And we'll have a conversation.
So
there is also the criminal component.
Go ahead.
There is also the criminal component where we establish, in the course of our electoral code enforcement, we realize that this goes a straddle, crossing into criminal area, and we are recommending to the ODPP and saying, look, we've been bashed too much. Bro, you might be quiet and not doing your job. Now we are telling you this is your job.
Here is the evidence.
Here is the evidence. We may not have the evidence. We don't have much power to investigate criminality.
Yeah.
But we can say, yes, these are preliminary findings. And we think in our own assessment, our investigators at the commission think that this is a criminal offense. Please investigate. And if established, prosecute. We stop at that. So that, Latif and ladies, we also need to be kind to each other. That where I have not done my job as IEBC commissioner, please tell me so. And if I have goofed, I'll say, yes, sorry, I goofed, but I'll make amends. Thank you.
I think we'll tell you, and you'll respond to us. And fixers are actually here saying there are areas where they feel the IEBC is barking, and because you're barking, it means that you should have teeth.
You should have bite.
Yes.
And you're not biting. So we'll talk about that. Let's take a quick break. 27 minutes after 7. Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana is the commissioner of the IEBC. He's the chair of, what's that?
Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee.
That one. They're the ones who've imposed some fines to 2 politicians. One has gone to court to say, apana. Another one, they're waiting. You gave him home? 48 hours.
Yes, but today he has to come and publicly...
Today he has to come and
apologize.
By 11 a.m. Let's see if the carry is going to go by 11 a.m. today to retract and apologize. We'll be back shortly.
Mimi naitwa Adrian Anyona Oigara, natokea pande ya Kisii, Kenya. Naishi hapa Japan, Osaka. Kazi yangu ni kama mbalimbali. Mimi ni muuzaji, natoa vitu nyumbani Kenya, nakuja kuuza hapa. Alafu pia huku pia najishughulisha na kazi zingine za hapa. Alafu mimi najaribu kujenga uchumi ya kwetu nyumbani. Kwa ile kidogo napata hapa natuma nyumbani, nasaidia mandugu zangu, baba yangu na watoto wetu na pia community mzima.
And you're a proper fixer and a proper hustler pale Osaka, Japan. I love that WhatsApp Nation video, Adrian. Vile umeifanya, alafu you have been mysterious just like a Kenyan. Mimi nafanya vitu mbali hapa na pale. Alafu pesa natuma nyumbani. Fixer, asante sana. Thank you so much. And at least tumeona Osaka kuna kaaje. We love to see and hear from fixers. Our number is 0769 590 762. 0769 590 762. Send us your WhatsApp Nation video. Tuambie uko wapi, jina lako ni nani, how are you fixing the nation, or what needs to be done to fix the nation. And of course, residents of all Kalou, please let us know kama uko kadi, kama una vote, kunaendaje, line itakaaje kesho. Just involve us. Take us along with you as you go about election day. I'll see you. Yeah.
Fixers have very many comments here, Dr. Mukhwana, but I'll just read, just 2 or 3.
Yes, please.
As it happens during a football match, that is the son of Cronus, the referee determines how physical the game is depending on the fouls they call. The same applies to the IEBC as a referee. The game will be as physical as the referee lets it.
Thank you. Allow me to answer one after the other. Now, what happens when the players decide that they'll descend on the referee and the spectators also descend on the referee? Who defends the referee?
The referee. The referee and the law.
The referee and the...
Yeah. You see, the referee is not here, was not brought here by the players. It's the law. The referee used the strength of the law.
What defense does the law give the referee who is actually being overwhelmed by the very players whom he's supposed to be conducting? The best he can do is to use the law.
Exactly.
And what law does he have? He has the red card.
Exactly.
I do not know whether you're in this country in the 80s there was a team called TP Mazembe, which came here. And there was a guy called Tumba Menga, who was given a red card by a referee, and he went berserk. Beat up the referee, beat up any player who came to restrain him, and went for the coach. And when a senior inspector of police trying to restrain him, gave him a sweep, and it was haywire. That is the imagery we have in the Kenyan elections today.
Okay.
That even where IEBC is saying, look, this is wrong, you're still told either you're too weak or you're partisan.
Yeah. You see, and that's why I think he's saying, if you have the law behind you, if you think that the law is not strong enough, then say so. If you believe and you took this job because you believed that the law is strong enough, then why not do the job? Blow the whistle. Give the player the red card. Then the law protects you. If the player beats you, go to the FA, the Football Association in this particular case. Go to court and say, I stopped this game because there was a foul committed by one player. Then all players plus the fans in the stadium descended on me. Right?
That is if
we have not seen IEBC do any of that. What IEBC is doing is calling a player to the side and telling the player,
Watch a story.
Watch a rough. Then all the players are coming and telling IEBC, usipoendelea game tutakutoa. Then msinitoe.
the analogy is great, but the interpretation with respect is not correct. Because, and I hope you're referring to the IBC, current IBC.
Yes.
When the players went rogue in Kasipul, we showed the red card. Some felt that that was not a red card, it was yellow, but we did show a red card. Kasipul was bleeding. Children were orphaned, women were widowed. And when we moved in, the protagonists were able to tone down. There was a threat that that election might not even be held. It was held. In Kalou, presently, we have shown the cards. In the first case, we find that politician 1.5 million shillings. She has gone to court. She has obtained conservatory orders. That is the law. It is her right. We will battle it out in court. In the second one, the complaint number 2, the Honorable David Gikaria, you saw what happened. You're saying the players are disobeying. Indeed, 3 times, the gentleman did not turn up, and we escalated the enforcement. We have fined him. We have recommended his prosecution criminally to the ODPP. Gentlemen, it may not be enough, but for God's sake, where somebody does something right, tell him it's right. Don't tell him it's wrong because you don't like his face, or you don't like the face of the predecessors who are there, and therefore IBC is black, however much you try to wash him.
I think the issue, sorry fella, and yes, agreed. The 2 actions that you've taken are good, and they're within what the IEBC is required to do. Public perception, Commissioner, with respect, I think it's on the strength of the player. If the star player is misbehaving and nothing is done to the star player, and then some good player but is a defender, not a defender, but is touching the ball 3 times in 10 minutes, is the one that you go after, people will be like, but surely ref. We can clearly see Messi committing the foul time and again, but every time Messi commits a foul, you look aside, and then when the other guy commits a small foul, what they'll consider is a small foul, that's when you act. I think that's it.
Thanks,
it's
Latif.
a perception issue.
Thanks, Latif. And that's a very honest feeling. But let's isolate the 2 issues. You seem to be speaking in parables this morning. When you say one does more, the other doesn't do more, I'll come to that. Just allow me if I don't recall it. But let's talk about perceptions. I agree with you that as far as perceptions of against IBC is concerned, they're not interesting. They're not funny. And it is an admission we made not just when we got the job. It is a question that was posed to us during the interview. So even during the interview, we were being told the perception of the people of Kenya about IEBC is at its lowest. So this acknowledgement is a national acknowledgement. Yeah. So we entered IEBC knowing very well the perception was at its lowest. Right. That has, with respect, nothing to do with what Ethicon has done or not done. I wish I could go to the mountaintop for 45 days, 1 year, and keep saying this so that Kenyans understand that it has nothing to do with what Ethicon and its commissions have done. But I've also quickly said that we cannot keep on giving excuses because we're supposed to change it.
Correct.
What are we doing to change it? We have engaged in a robust communication. Before we went to IEBC, IEBC was not on X. IEBC's Facebook was not even as interactive. We have done heavy lifting. But you cannot solve a problem that was created for decades in 11 months that we've been in IEBC. And that's why we keep saying that Kenyans must be kind to us. We are doing something. But it's a drop in the ocean given the nature of the problem and the volumes of the trouble that IEBC was in.
You inherited a bad legacy.
It's a bad legacy. But now let me go to, sorry?
Sorry, carry on. I had a question in regard to...
If you could hold, I wanted to respond to the parables that Latif seems to be in today. I get his drift. He seems to be saying that, yes, we have done something good in the recent time, but there is a perception that our application of the law and enforcement is selective. We, in both cases that we have dealt with, nobody has complained. And this is something that you also need to educate Kenyans. Nobody has brought any complaint to IEBC except two, but those came after we were already dealing. So give it to us that we have proactively gone out, identified these two particular leaders and said you're out of order. But again, this credit we are not given. But we also have others. For instance, I was on one of the media stations and a clip was played and told, why are you saying you don't know? And there was a very impolite comment by one listener who said, don't you have TV at home? It is true that we did not even have social media listening capacity at the commission before we came in. Now we have. And on almost an hourly basis, daily basis, we are able, every evening, the chairman now receives the report on the social media listening. As in charge of communication, I receive. And so as days go, you will find us being more proactive than we have ever been. So on the issue of selective treatment, I know there has been this complaint that we are only going for those who are on one side of the political divide and not the other side of the political divide. That cannot be true because you can see that for these two, they are from two different political divides. But even again, some Kenyans will say, you've just done that to satisfy. But let me say something also. You asked about the True North when we began this program. The True North of all these Kenyans who are giving these views, you must understand, they are as diverse as they are. So even when they say we are partisan, you must know that we are partisan. We are being partisan because they are on one side and they perceive us being on the other side. In Kalou, there has been a complaint, and our investigators have been investigating. Which are these unmarked vehicles that are roaming Kalou with men who are in balaclavas? That's how they're described, with men who are masked. And you see, then the tendency is to feel, given our history, that this must be state operatives. Last night, when I was watching it, I think it was NTV, if I'm not mistaken, one member who does not belong to this other side actually said, we are driving cars without number plates, and in Kiswahili alisema, kwa sababu tunaindwa kama swara. That then tells what we have been pursuing. That it is not necessarily on this other side that has been being said is the one, but actually even on the other side, they are also removing number plates and moving around. So when you are being judged by what is happening in the field, oh, there are so many moving parts. Let's be kind to one another. But tell us where you need to improve, we will. Thank you.
But the IEBC is not helpless. That is the one thing that, we have to keep resounding,
Indeed,
that the IEBC is not helpless.
Indeed.
I'm happy that you brought in the state, because the way people view the IEBC is that it's not independent of the state. Therefore, it becomes hard for the IEBC to crack down on what state officials do that could be very much going against the Election Offences Act. And now here I'm trying to funnel into the voter bribery allegations and also conduct of state officials on the ground while campaigning, but also seemingly doing state duties. Is the IEBC helpless in terms of its pursuit of the state? Or what should Kenyans be reading of that situation? Because when Eric paints a picture of the IEBC is only going after low-hanging fruit that is not as muscled as what the state is, unfortunately, that is the picture that the public that you're trying to buy in is reading.
Again, legacy problems, legacy perceptions. But let's be specific. I do not think that the state is the problem. If there is a problem, it is the individuals employed by government.
Correct.
If you listen to the chairperson, Ethicon's remarks yesterday, he mentioned about the issue. And as a commission, we are clear in our mind that public officials have no business participating in electoral activities contrary to the dictates of the law. They make the work so difficult for us. And they reinforce this public perception that we are in bed with government. We have no instructions from those in charge of government whatsoever to deal one way or the other. But a few who are in government, who may be, say, principal secretaries, we are told,
yes,
cabinet secretaries, there are a number of them whom we are investigating.
Right.
It is not fair that as a cabinet secretary, and this came up in Barry, as a cabinet secretary, you storm a polling station. First of all, under the law, even I as a commissioner, not in charge of that polling station. It is the returning officer who is in charge of that polling station. And the cabinet secretary has no business seeking access. Politicians, they disguise and come, they are called super agents.
Yeah.
And they want to roam all over the polling stations. In the process, the other side also, they are prominent politicians, want to do the same. And they don't work alone. They work with multitudes. And now they'll not be working with the innocent multitudes. They'll be working with the goons.
Yep.
Before you realize, they have overrun the polling station.
Correct.
Who is to blame? IEBC. So sisi tumeamua kwamba hatutaendelea kuzabwa makonde bila kujitetea. We'll do what we have to do. Cabinet Secretary, Principal Secretary, Wanjiko, Atieno, Awinja must do what it is that the law says.
Let me just
That is the only true north. Any other, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Let's hang on to that because that's been part of this the public perception issue stems from that Mbeere North incident. The cabinet secretary you're talking about is Geoffrey Ruku. And the fact that this election has been challenged in court is because of that, the storming of the police station. So then, even if you're saying, you know what, we've gone to court, how do you, after a polling center is stormed or a polling station is stormed, then come and say that the outcome of that election was valid? And the validity of that, then the other thing I'll ask is when you see blatant voter bribery like we've seen in Kalou, where people come and say, mimi navaa kofia ya huyu nakuja nachukua 2,000 yangu, natoa navaa ya huyu mwingine nachukua 2,000 ingine. Again, is that not grounds to call off the election? So let's start with the Mbeere North one.
Keep them brief so that
let's start with Mbeere North. Essentially, Geoffrey Ruku stormed a polling station. Yes, I got it. Yes. Geoffrey
Ruku stormed the polling station, and therefore, in the process, there was fear, there was pandemonium, there was all that. Now, indeed, in law, you cannot say that it is right because there was fear and intimidation. And these are part of the pillars that I said in the beginning, that there must be no intimidation. That little fellow in the corner who has no shoes, who is hanging somewhere with his voting card or her voting card, when he sees a cabinet secretary with bodyguards, and it's clear he's supporting one candidate over the other, there is a tendency to have a bearing on the psyche of that vote. I mean, this is a no-brainer. What did we do? In Mbeere North, there was a massive deployment of security. They did what they could at that time. When it went to court, the court found that despite that, there was no dislocation of the voters' will. That is the court's decision. I cannot find fault in what the court said, and that is not law. There was no appeal from that decision. What was the second question? I can go to it.
The voter bribery. So, and nitarudi tu hapo kwa the court findings, but voter bribery in Kalou has been blatant. And we've seen citizens talking about, I put on this guy's hat, I go get my 2,000 shillings. I take it off, I put the next guy's hat, I go get my 2,000 shillings. However you want to, shield or cover it. Kalou has seen massive levels of voter bribery. And your chair, Erastus Athekon, said, you know what, if this violence issue, bribery issues continue, we can call off or postpone an election. Again, is it okay to go into an election when there's been such clear cases of bribery and violence as well?
That's a good question. Is it okay to go into election? Whether you should cancel it, therefore.
Cancel, postpone it.
Postpone it, which when that was said by the chairperson, you saw the furor that it brought.
Yeah.
The thing is this, Mariam. As IBC, when you take a decision, you must follow what is called the due process. There's what we see on TV. I've just said, I've given the example of the unmarked cars. As far as the perception was, it was one side that is using unmarked cars. Now, yesterday, it occurs that it's both sides. When a complaint arrives at our desk, which they rarely do, by the way, complaints are only in the media. We rarely get these complaints, including Malava. Those cars that you saw that were banned, there is no OB record. The owners of the vehicle did not even record a statement. Kisa na maana, pia nao labda walishiriki uhuni. Wakaona nikienda, nitakuwa najibu. But let's go to what you're saying. We have charged the Honorable Gikaria on the basis of voter bribery. There are one or two other leads we have, which we are pursuing. So it's not like we are doing nothing. But having said that, you must understand the prosecution that we prosecute voter bribery incidents on TV is not the same prosecution IBC will use. First of all, you have to identify what is the source of the bribery. In this case, we identified that gentleman. Who was bribed? Even that, you have to establish. So, when that fellow says, Navaa kofe mbili, I saw the fellow, Navaa kofe mbili. Nikifika kwa chama hiki natoa hii napewa. Nikifika kwa kile kingine napewa. Strictly speaking, that fellow is the one who is admitting that he was bribed. So you cannot even trust the briber, maybe unless you cause him to tell you the briber. So ordinarily, what should you do? You should go and arrest that fellow. So actually, what the police should have done, just like they pursue criminals, they should have pursued that fellow and say, now kuja na hizo
as a
kofe
person
mbili."
of interest.
As a person of interest, yes. Njoo na hizo kofe mbili. Hii ulipewa ngapi kwa hii? Na hii ulipewa kwa ngapi? Weka pingu. Tuelekeza aliyekupa. Because again, citizens of this country, I think at one point, they also must be taught a lesson. Rather than complaining that it's the politicians giving them bribe. Nilihongwa, mbona hamushiki na alinipa hongo. Wewe wahongwa, kisha waja kulalamika IBC hajafanya chochote. So bribery, and citizens need to understand, bribery is two-way. The reason why we are having a problem of corruption in this country, even when we blame the police, for example, is because we have become active conveyors of corruption, but we'll rather blame the police for not arresting. The same thing. We are active takers of bribes in the villages, in funerals. Lakini ikifika kata IEBC ni masumbwi, si uso, si tumbo, si mgongo.
That's a good call out.
Mbona hivi?
That's a good call out. You know how we keep saying that corruption is not good until it benefits you.
Yes.
When it benefits you is when you're like, yeah, maybe let's twist the law a little bit. Commissioner, I'm very curious now that we're talking about bribery. Two things. So there's bribery in form of physical goods, and then there's bribery in form of cash.
Yes.
How does IEBC view these two? And what does the law actually say? Because then we term it as treatment versus the bribery in itself. What does the IEBC consider an Election Offences Act? I don't know if you get my drift.
It must be mixed.
If I give Eric this cap,
yes,
and it's for him to give me a vote, correct? But I've treated him to a cup of tea. Vis-a-vis me giving him 500 shillings, like what Gikaria was caught on video doing, dishing out money. How does the IEBC treat these two? What does the Election Offences Act? Is there a loophole there that somehow politicians get away with?
there was bribery was later on christened treating. Tanipa chai,
Facilitation.
Yeah, ni soda tu nimewapa. Jamani, mgeni akija kwako hutomwacha bila chakula. Sasa hizi nimeingia, mmenipa maji. That kind of language.
Okay.
Makes it a bit blurred.
Can the IEBC?
But for us, there is a component called inducement.
Okay.
But the running thread in all these actions must be the effect, its effect. You must ask yourself, did it have the effect of dislocating the sovereign will of the voter in such a manner that the voter then proceeded to vote a way that she ordinarily would not have voted?
That's really hard to prove.
That's why I told you, you can prosecute on TV, but it's not the same way for IEBC. But number two, was this item used in a manner that reduced the voter's card to a tool of survival rather than an exercise of her sovereign will in electing who she or he desired? Mamangu, haya mambo tuzungumza tu. Ukifika mahakamani, ukileta wakili wa yule jamaa pale, ndio utajua kizungu hukukisoma. It's not easy. But you do our best.
I can see that. But also, it's a product of what we have done. And I agree, it's what we have done as a society when we, gray these matters. In one way, you're saying thank you to a public officer for, offering you a service, or you're inducing the public officer to offer you a service. Did I give him the money before the service, or did I give him the money after the service?
Did we agree on the money before?
Did we agree on the money before? Same thing. Now, is there a possibility, Commissioner, that it's time that and we can take a break. You'll answer that because you know what bribery is. Wacha hii mambo ingine where we come and start saying things. If I'm coming to campaign and I come with mattresses, I didn't come with mattresses last week. I've come with mattresses today. I've called people to a campaign meeting, and after the campaign meeting, I've given them mattresses, go home with them, or I've given them money, I've given them soda, or I've given them gas cylinders filled with gas. We know what that is. It's an inducement. Prove or not prove. Can you bite? Then twende kwa hospitali, tuone kama huyu jamaa amepata kichaa cha umbwa ama hana kichaa cha umbwa. Let's deal with the guy in hospital. Can IEBC just bite first? Because then we'll come and answer that. But answer that after the break. We're taking a short break. Please don't forget it. It's a minute to 8 a.m. Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana is the IEBC commissioner. He's also in charge of the Electoral Offences Act, whatever it is. Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee. That one. It's a tough one. Basically, he's the one who's been given the teeth to bite when people misbehave during campaigns. We'll be back shortly. Mzuri kabisa.
Swali mzuri. Tuko na maswali hapa all through to the half mark of this hour, and we have IEBC Commissioner Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana with us, and we've just really been threading on this issue of Kalou, but just IEBC as an institution and the erosion of public trust as far as the relationship between the political class and the IEBC and the IEBC and the electorate. And just before we went on break, we had a question on the voter bribery that we're seeing, whether it's coming from state officials under the guise of development, and also the slap on the wrist, as the public would term it, of David Gikaria, who yesterday was fined 2.5 million and is supposed to issue a public apology today. And just again, what does the IEBC have enough bite as far as addressing these concerns? Now, the question, I don't know if you can remember the question that Eric had asked.
Well, thank you, Wamboy.
I said bite. Don't just bite.
He said, again, this morning he's into a lot of insinuations. He seems to say that there are people from one side or the other who donate or donated stuff. I think guest cookers came up.
Yes.
Mattresses.
Yeah, thank you.
Magodoro zote na plus cookers, 20,000 gas cylinders.
I followed that conversation yesterday, I think on one other television station in the morning, and there were representatives from government, I think, who were. This was the same discussion, and there was a very interesting counter from one of them who said that, look, government projects are ongoing. You do not stop projects because there is an election or a by-election. And one also said that, he even gave an example, that in his own constituency, they were given mattresses the other day. I think that was in Suna, if I'm not mistaken. The gentleman was from Suna. And they said, the argument basically was that you do not stop government projects. And one of them actually said that there is a special programs ministry or directorate, State Department, which gives mattresses to indigents. And, if you listen to that, depending on where you are, you'd have a lot of problems digesting that, or you would really feel nice that an answer had been given. For us at IEBC, we have the ingredients that we look at. First of all, from the public perception entry point, it looks bad. Purely from the public perception. One, because the other side sees this as a leverage by virtue of incumbency. This is government, so you use government resources. That's how the other side views it. But the other side is saying, no, we're in government. Possibly you would have done the same if you were here, because projects must carry on. For us at IBC, we are not in politics. Yes, our clients are politicians, but we are not here to politic. When a certain donation is made in an electioneering period, we then must look at it in the context of that by-election. Was it given with a view to inducing voters to vote one way or the other? What remarks were made by the officers who were donating at that time? Because we've been told, and that's something we're investigating, that some of the state officers actually uttered words and said, we have brought this, so vote for
therefore.
X. Okay? Now, if that happens, then there is a clear connection between the government resources that are being spent there and the purpose of that spending.
The intended purpose.
There is another one, is a poster we saw, and we are struggling to identify the authenticity and whether it's AI generated or whether it is really attributable to that particular leader, because we also have to be fair to them. Even though they're in government, they also have a right to due process. And there is a poster where I think Cabinet Secretary, if I'm not mistaken, and the candidate, and another Principal Secretary. Now, and that is done as an activation towards that donation exercise. So if really that's the sequencing of those events, then you have a cause to worry, because then does it dislocate the free will of the people? Now, so yes, donations by government ordinarily should not be a problem, because indeed projects are ongoing. But the circumstantial evidence in which that is being done also must take it into account. And that is something that we are actively following.
Now, this actively following, Commissioner, is where the problem comes in, right? Tomorrow is the by-election. The actively following should have happened 2 weeks ago. These things are being given at a meeting that is organized to campaign for a candidate. All right? Speakers before this one, the state officer and the public officer, are all speaking for a campaign candidate. Then goodies are given, whether it is mattress, whether it is gas cooker, whether it is government project or not. What does the Electoral Offences Act say? I mean, if it was a chief's baraza and the minister has come and nothing else is discussed that touches on a campaign, then they could argue that it was not a campaign meeting. But clearly, Commissioner, when people have come and they are donned in a candidate's colors, when all speakers are speaking the language of the campaign, and then government goodies are given, there is a clear breach of the law. Sijasoma sheria lakini niko na maybe a couple of eggs short of a dozen, but at least not half a dozen.
Thank you. My brother, you're preaching to the converted. You're actually reciting what I have said. That in that context, clearly there's a problem. And I have already told you that this is under active investigation. Your question is, why take so long?
Yeah.
And you have also added the right and said this should have been done like 2 weeks ago. In the context of this country, there are things that should have been done 63 years ago. But that does not mean that they should not be done. And that does not mean that they'll never be done.
Lakini uchaguzi ni kesho.
Election offenses once, those ones are criminally culpable. See yetu enforcement code. So if kama ni kosa la jinai, ODP pia tawashtaki. Lakini kama ni kosa la enforcement code of conduct, that is what is within us. And I've said, uchaguzi kukisha, wakiapishwa, inakuwa kazi yetu imeisha. Sasa wewe, unataka nikuambie siri za uchunguzi, unajuaje kama tutamuita kesho?
Ndio tunauliza, utamuita kesho?
Sasa hapo utanivuruga.
We just want the assurance. Is this matter under active investigation by the IEBC? And shall we have an answer from the IEBC coming to tell us, we have investigated and we found that the gas cylinders, the issuing of gas cylinders or mattresses or this and the other did not offend the law?
These issues have been raised in the public domain. We cannot run away from them. And I have given my assurance that these are part of the many others. It's not the only one. Part of the many others, both sides with the divide that we're pursuing.
Fair enough. I want to just, because we have a couple more minutes on so we've seen the members of the opposition come out, the press conference, speaking. It's almost like a foreshadowing of what they say is already a flawed process and them not trusting in the process. And we also have a 9-page letter from a DCP party leader, that's Rigathi Gachagua, specifically speaking to the chairperson of IEBC. IEBC has not come out with a response to either parties.
Sorry, Wamboi. It came up last evening?
Yes. So there was a press yesterday. Actually, we can play that clip.
No, I've seen it.
You've seen it?
I saw it.
The letter from...
yes.
From the Honorable Gachagua.
Yes.
It came in the evening.
Yes,
Correct.
he posted last night.
And you're saying
last night.
The chairperson has not responded?
No, it's the commission as IEBC has not said anything, and the letter is titled Planned Electoral Violence.
Sorry, boy, I don't want to interrupt you too much, but
Okay.
I'm just drawing your attention to the fact that it came last evening to the press. Surely you could not have been expected to have responded by this morning.
There's no worries. That's why we are here.
Yes.
And since we have you here,
Yes.
we just want to hear your thoughts
thank you.
on
Then
what he's saying. Yeah.
Then we're in line.
So the 9-page letter is addressed to the chairperson of IEBC, correct? Planned electoral violence and vote rigging in all Kalou constituency by-election on 16th. Then he goes on to list a number of things,
Yeah, I don't have it.
some of which we've spoken about, like the presence of PSs on ground and CSs on ground, and also just going in to ask for a number of things. Mr. Chairman, can you confirm that all badges for agents will be issued by the close of business as per the law? Mr. Chairman, can you clear the air that all polling stations will be open at 6 and
Sorry,
count?
which page is that? Fela?
This is point
It's a
number 11, because it's a very long one.
You're
Yes,
aware? Okay, that's where we are.
correct. So I just went to point number 11 because
yes,
these are
yes,
his
it's long.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, can you confirm that all the badges for agents will be issued by close of business as per the law? Mr. Chairman, can you clear the air that all polling stations will be open at 6? Counting of votes starts at 5. Mr. Chairman, can you confirm that agents of all parties will be allowed to scrutinize issuance of ballot papers? Going on, asking the chair, can you confirm that as per the voting regulation number 72 shall be adhered with, especially with the fill-in form of Form 32 set out in the schedule, amongst other asks. Yeah.
What is he asking?
Yeah.
It's, you know, this letter, it's a very weighty letter. And the reason why I bring it up is because when you already have one side of the political class bringing in insinuations like this, that they don't trust the process or IEBC to be able to conduct a free and fair election. So the judgment, I mean, the outcome has already been put out for the public to, if their winners, if their candidates do not win, then it's already a problematic situation. I don't know what the IEBC is going to do to meet this with utmost authority that the IEBC is going to do as per what it's expected to do. Because if we leave it unanswered, Mukhwana, and the reason I'm bringing it up is there's a foreshadowing that's already been created here. That if you go on ahead and announce the UDA candidate having won, then this letter is what will be brought up.
And on the other end, if you actually, yes, this is what will be brought up. And then if you don't announce, if you announce the DCP candidate, on the other end, it will probably be the same story.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, dada zangu na kakangu, mwajua kidogo yako juu, it's above my mandate. This letter is addressed to the commission chairperson.
Correct.
It is possible he has received it. It's also possible he has not received it. So for me to appear to be pronouncing myself on this letter, which has come also from a very high-ranking leader on the opposition side, can clearly be very sensitive.
True.
It is only fair that we let it be addressed by the chairperson so that we do not create unnecessary noise in between. With profound respect, I would request that you let it rest.
Okay.
I'll have answers, but it is not addressed to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough. And I mean, we can see if you just come and answer, then it may also just, jeopardize what the officers in the office of the chairperson are doing in terms of addressing each matter.
Yeah.
But then...
And above all, Latif, sorry to interrupt you, this, constitutionally, the chairperson is the spokesperson of the commission.
Yeah.
We come here on his delegation.
Correct.
And that is why we ask, what is the subject? So as much as possible, we must take care of the nuances and the sensitivities of protocols involved in these jobs.
That's true.
Be fair to you. Thank you very much.
You joined this commission a year ago, Dr. Mukhwana.
Yes.
All right, before that, wewe na sisi tulikuwa pamoja.
Ni kweli kaka.
Machanganuzi wa masuala ya kisiasa. You are the one who would have been on this side saying, what the IEBC ought to do in such a particular
Ni
case.
kweli.
Okay?
Yes,
You knew the job you applied for. And you knew the job you took when you even took the oath of office.
Yes.
Do you feel that politicians have greater sway on the IEBC than is due to them?
Thank you.
Are politicians unduly influential on the IEBC?
Thank you. I'm not sure influential would bring out the true context of it. Because influential connotes directing, deciding, shepherding what it is that we do. That is not correct. What I think that politicians do is that they deliberately adopt stances which undermine the credibility of the institution. And that's, I think, this has been basically the bulk of our conversation this morning.
It has.
If you look at what happens out of the campaign period, you saw what happened in Keumbu. You've seen our politicians basically campaigning, and then we are told bad utterances were made. Why are you not punishing? We are not in an electoral campaign period. I've explained that, I hope, adequately. In August, next month, 10th August, if I'm not mistaken, 10th or thereabout, we'll declare the official campaign period, election year, so to speak. Not really campaign, but election year for 2027. Until then, there are no campaigns. But can you stop? Can you literally expect that IBC will get, are they muzzles? What are these that we use to make sure somebody doesn't speak?
The muzzlers.
The muzzles? Do you really expect that IBC will have muzzles that will go around muzzling all politicians in FINROLs and to tell them, this you can say, this you cannot say because we are not within a campaign period? The problem, the challenge that our politicians pose for IBC is that they engage in speeches that affect the very, very work of IEBC. And so IEBC is left looking very bad, having an egg on its face, because it is then perceived to be sympathetic to one side of the political divide or the other side of the political divide. And politicians have a bit of an unhinged character when they talk about certain issues. In fact, when you meet them elsewhere, they'll tell you, siasa wachana nayo. But siasa, what is siasa? You say it is siasa, but it has dented the credibility of the commissioners you're dealing with, the institution. If IEBC's credibility is not the concern of every citizen in this country, what is? If we do not protect our own institutions, who will? It is not in the interest, in the benefit of Ethicon that the IBC looks good. It is in the interest of all Kenyans. Because if IBC continues to be bashed every day, and by the way, some of the remarks that our politicians use, if you sat in a sober forum and asked that politician to produce evidence, and you as IBC produce evidence, they'll just walk away and tell you, you ni siasa wachana nayo. So if we do not create and sustain and build a momentum towards rebuilding the trust and confidence of Kenyans in IBC, this is the scenario. That when finally IBC will preside over these elections in 2027, the ground would have been prepared for rejection of the results, either way.
Okay.
And the result would be that whoever wins will not be accepted, whoever loses will not accept. And there will be instability in 2027.
Now you are good in communication, and you understand all these things. You understand that what's happening before the electoral period is very likely to impact the electoral period.
Absolutely.
And therefore even what is perceived as the outcome of the election. Why can't the IEBC speak? Not about taking action, but come out strongly and say, these utterances now will impact the journey into the election. Do you lose anything?
We don't
by
lose.
Coming out now to say, for example, what we are seeing is wrong. Come out and say it's wrong, and this is why it's wrong. And we'd like to call on our sister agencies, the National Police Service, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and the others to take action on this and the other. Or we are working together as a multi-stakeholder, the thing Majiki that you call, and this is what we are recommending.
Thank you.
Speak.
Thank you, Latif. Last week at the Radisson Blu, when the chairman talked about the possibility of postponing this election, that is exactly what he was pronouncing himself at. He said, if we don't do these things right, if the politicians don't stop this goon madness, And he used this term, if I may paraphrase him. He said that in Kalou, everything looks okay during the day, but at night, madness descends. And he said, if we do not take care of these things before 2027, it will not be kind. He knows the word kind.
Yeah.
But he said basically that we'll have problems in 2027.
Okay.
And that's what I'm also saying here. So we have said, Latif, the biggest problem is that the politicians, and for some reason, whatever politician says will get into the airwaves. Even if, katika Swahili vile wanasema ni ya kuchoma. Lakini ile IEBC inasema, but you're grateful. Some of the media houses are now coming out and saying. So if all Kenyans will decide that for those politicians who deliberately inflame the country, who deliberately talk tribal, who deliberately try to regionalize and balkanize the country, you give them a blackout as Kenyans. They would learn. And by the way, politicians are very intelligent fellows.
They are.
What they do, if they realize that it is costing them votes, they'll cease and desist.
Very true.
So we also, as Kenyans, have a responsibility to decide. But will we? We may not. Because we are looking everything through the prism of whom I follow, whom I support. And therefore the country continues being balkanized. For us as IEBC, as we've said, our efforts might be comparable to the hummingbirds, but we will do it.
Okay.
And where we go wrong, I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, tell us. Open door commission, and it is possible. We can goof. We are human beings.
You're not hummingbirds. We are the ones who created this thing, and we know we created an animal and we gave it teeth.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it has decided to muzzle itself or to accept to be muzzled by the thug who has just jumped over the fence, sasa hiyo ni mambo ingine. But I agree that there's undue elevation, and we've been saying this on the show. There's undue elevation by our society of a politician, and you even inferred to that when you said our client. Your client, Mr. IEBC, is not the politician. Your client is the voter.
Yeah.
The Electoral Commission is supervising an exercise where constitutionally the sovereign is deciding whom to give authority to. It's the simple exercise of the sovereign delegating the authority to somebody. And you are just there to see, Felaris, whom have you given this, whom have you delegated this to? The person to whom this authority is being delegated is not important. The most important is Felaris.
Yeah.
So for as long as we also know ourselves as Kenyans that we are the bigger, voice in an election, then we shall not be listening to what politician A, B, C say or tell us about IEBC. We shall be saying what we want in an election and what we want the IEBC to do.
True.
Thanks, Latif. I agree with you. Politicians are our principal stakeholders. They may not be clients. Our citizens are our principals. They're the ones who have given us this power. So I agree with you absolutely, with no reservation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that conversation and for spending 1.5 hours with us. There's still so much feedback and comments, including Dante, who was asking what you think of the idea. He's petitioned the National Assembly to amend the Elections Act on resignation of public servants from 6 months to 2 months. And instead of resignation, they get unpaid leave. Yeah, just a giggle there. Let's end the conversation there with Dr. Alutalala Mukhwana, IEBC Commissioner and also Chair of the Electoral Code of Conduct Committee. We'll be back in the next hour, just taking a short break. # is Fixing the Nation and TV.